Welcome to today's partner education event. Today's event is exploring the participant experience. It's the second part in a two-part series. The first, we demoed some of our other features, and today we're going to dive deeper into training, assessment, and some resources. We're really excited for you to uncover today what mentorship is really like for your program participants. So let's go ahead and get started. A few housekeeping tips just to start us off. This webinar is being recorded, and we'll send you that recording as well as some additional educational resources in follow-up messaging that comes after the event. You can also always find the recordings of actually all of our partner education webinars, including the first part of this series, in our Partner Knowledge Center, which is help.mentorcollective.org. On the screen, you'll see a few tips to help ensure a smooth virtual experience for you today. You might want to consider adjusting your video layout to speaker view, which allows you to see both the slide deck and also our presenter faces. And we'd also love to know where y'all are joining from, so please feel free to join and then share your name and institution in the chat so we can just say hello. Throughout the session today, you are more than welcome to drop your questions in the chat or to use the Q&A feature, which is enabled here. We also encourage you to use the reactions feature throughout the session just to keep things fun. It's great for Alyssa, who I'll introduce in a second, but it's great for Alyssa and I to see, how are you responding to things? Are you loving the feature? Are you feeling great about it? Is our energy resonating with you? So please keep us going with those emojis. We really appreciate it. Thank you. So in today's session, we are going to dive deeper into the many aspects of the participant experience of mentorship, especially, like I had said, what you're seeing on your screen. So by participating today, you will learn all about training, discussion guides, those supplemental resources and curricula that support mentorship success for both your mentors and your mentee participants. You'll also learn how to use these resources to empower your participants and really enhance their mentorship journey to make the most impact on their journey. You'll also gain insights into assessment strategies that measure impact and improve engagement. And Alyssa has all kinds of great suggestions for using assessment in a really cool way. All right, so I also just want to highlight again that first part in the series, which where we covered matching, messaging, conversation logs, and community engagement. Alyssa, if you don't mind, can you drop the link to that in the chat? Thanks so much. Awesome. And then not a final reminder, I'll give you another one at the end, but another reminder that you'll get access from today's recording in follow-up messaging. So I'll be sure to send this as well as that first recording to you. So if you're watching the recording, hello. And if you're here live, you will also get that in a follow-up message, as well as all of the templates and links that we talk about in today's session. All right, so I'm Jen. I've met several of you I'm seeing in the chat there before, and I'm so glad if you're rejoining an event, thank you. And if you're new to a partner education event, hello, thank you for joining us today. I'm Mentor Collective's customer education manager, and I create education opportunities for our partners that support building programs that have the most impact. And I've worn several hats here at Mentor Collective. All of them have been centered around the best possible experience for partners and their program participants. And today I'll actually be talking about training a bit because I was part of the team that created our on-demand research-backed training product. So I'll put that hat back on and I'll talk a little bit about that. And then on the partner side now, I work to blend both that product knowledge and also these on-the-ground strategies to build mentorship initiatives that have, a lot of impact. So that's me in a nutshell, and I'll pass it over to Alyssa, my wonderful colleague. Alyssa, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Alyssa Zink. I work with a lot of our partners throughout the entire country, helping as a partner success manager to, design programs, get the programs up and running, launched for the years, kind of helping our partners dive into the dashboard, finding data and insights about their programs, suggesting interventions if there's, need to help the participants with anything in the dashboard. So here to help and and kind of have that experience of working on those programs with our partners. So happy to provide some more deeper insights here today about what your participants see when they're in navigating through their own dashboard, and excited to answer any questions that may come up as well.
Awesome, Alyssa, we're so lucky to have you. Thank you. All right, so let's start first with a participant centered approach and how the participant experience is really grounded in this mindset. So, if you have attended an event of ours before, this wheel might look really familiar to you. This is the culture of mentorship wheel. So, there are 6 elements in this wheel that promote an institution wide culture of mentorship. And one of those elements is the participant centered approach to a mentorship initiative. So although every element here is very important, of course, it leads to the development of a strong program. We would love for you today to adopt this mindset focused on the participant-centered approach, which means that mentorship is, of course, first and foremost centered around the experiences and needs of your program participants. So every aspect of the platform and the program, all of your strategies combined with the product features that we'll talk about today, are designed with this approach in mind. An example of that would be that messaging and matching, which we talked about at the previous session, they take into account identity conscious and inclusive practices. And that could look like maybe copy that reflects different voices. So messaging that goes out that's inclusive of everybody who might be in that program, as well as identity-based matching options in the matching survey to make sure that mentorship pairs are meaningful and that the lived experiences of folks in the program are taken into account. Another example is encouraging participants to be very goal-based in their mentorship intentions. We know that mentees want to grow and achieve their personal and professional goals, but also mentors want to feel like they got something, right? Like their guidance has made a meaningful impact. So when both sides are aligned, feeling supported, well-resourced, when they have shared clear objectives, the mentorship experience as a whole becomes more rewarding and productive, engaging for everybody who is involved. So at this time, I'll also ask Alyssa to drop a link to our recent white paper on all 6 elements in the chat, the 6 elements of a culture of mentorship, and you can dive deeper into all of the different elements and how they work together to create an institution-wide culture of impact, culture of mentorship at your institution. All right. So Alyssa, I'm actually going to pass it over to you now to share a quick demo, if you don't mind, of the features that a participant will experience in their dashboard. So kind of the journey there. While Alyssa is demoing, I'll drop related resources into the chat, and I'll also be available to answer questions while she's taking us through this map. So take it away.
Great. So we have kind of built out a framework here. We shared this in our last session as well. But some of you may be familiar with the partner experience and what that looks like and how you can use some of your insights and data to inform strategy at the institution level. We wanted to make something similar that maps out your participants' experience to show the steps that they go through and what their experience is like participating in one of our mentorship programs, and ways that you can kind of leverage that as well. So where we start is at the very beginning. Obviously, we need to get students involved in this experience. So we're going to send out invitations, both from the institution side as well as the mentor collective side. We work collaboratively to get those invitations out in front of students, can build out some strategy around the best messaging to use, and make sure that students are being reached at the most opportune times or getting reminders if they're maybe missing the initial invites. And then also acknowledging once they have signed up, maybe we don't need to continue with that messaging and then can pivot over into other communications. Once they register, they then are going to access a dashboard and create an account with Mentor Collective, where they're going to have a checklist of items they need to complete. Kind of one of those first key items on that checklist is completing their matching survey. And that is the very important step where we are going to collect as much wonderful, insightful, but student provided still data. And this can help create the best match possible from a large pool of mentors that you have involved and mentees. I think this is one of the most important steps in using a platform like Mentor Collective, because this allows you to take a pool of 1,000 students and a pool of 1,000 mentors, and our algorithm will take into account all of their different preferences, life experiences, academic interests, what matters to them, demographic information as well, and then can kind of compile it all in and find the best possible match based on the available mentors participating. So this is kind of that key step where we get that good match. Your mentors then are going to go through that step of training, which is again in their dashboard. Jen will do a deeper dive on what that training looks like today and how we've developed that. But that's to help prepare them for being the best mentor possible. After that training has been completed, the mentors are then eligible to be matched. The mentees, by completing that matching survey, are also now eligible, and we can pair them together. Now we have a mentorship that is active. They can connect through the SMS relay. They can connect through exchanging information, meeting up in person, scheduling a video call, whatever they prefer. And this is when the mentorship journey really begins. Mentors can start getting to know more about their mentees. They can refer them to campus resources. They can continue helping their mentees grow and learn and be a resource for them, especially as they're navigating maybe some areas of uncertainty, whatever those are, whether that's, their first semester arriving at college, or maybe they're in a career program and they're going to be starting the interview process soon. Whoever their mentor is can kind of help them navigate some of those initial questions and journeys that they're going through. You can also log conversations in the platform. They can submit flags if there's anything of concern that's coming up. Maybe something the institution is particularly wanting to know about. Mentors can let you know as soon as they hear about it from their mentee. And then through all of these wonderful resources, the main goal, hopefully building community and really building that sense of belonging and kind of confidence on campus and throughout their journey. So that is really high level, just a very quick dive into what that participant experience looks like for the individuals that we have going through our programs. But like Jen said, part one, we dive in a little more to the dashboard side of it. And today we'll dive into some of these resources that we have available.
Awesome. Thank you, Alyssa. So training, let's get right into it. All right, so our mentor training, mentors will first see this pop up on their checklist when they first onboard. So after they get registered for Mentor Collective, they'll see this kind of checklist on their participant dashboard. So you'll see some of the options that Alyssa had talked about, the matching survey. This is, of course, our demo platform. So some of these items wouldn't be on your program necessarily, but all programs will have the required student success mentor training. And it is checked off here because it looks like somebody has completed it, and so it automatically checks off on the checklist here, but this is their first introduction to that. They'll also receive messaging that points them to take this training, explaining why it's important, giving them a little snapshot of it, and encouraging them to take it. So they'll be prompted to take the training in other ways as well. When participants click into this task, it actually looks to the participant as though they're staying in screen. So they're staying in app, which is a really cool feature. So they're going to stay as much in the participant dashboard as possible. So they'll have a really easy experience as they move into that on-demand training. All right, so let's talk a little bit more about that on-demand part of it. So the mentor training is an on-demand learning experience, and it allows participants, because it's on demand, to take that training at a time or in a location that works well for them. We've had a lot of feedback from participants that this is really a plus for them. It also allows us to provide this training to participants in a broad range of groups. So career students who maybe have a job, off-campus students, students who are online or hybrid. So it allows them to not have to attend something live, which is great. It was created in accordance with the research-backed instructional design principles that were developed by educators and actually a team of folks who research mentorship. And participants, because of that, are guided through a really interactive, engaging series of both text and video lessons that are based in uh, our product and an understanding of how the platform works, but also the best practices of mentorship. Something I love about this is that they also are able to review the training materials as often as they'd like throughout the duration of the program. So if at any point they're like, oh, I wish I could go back and refresh or download a list of questions, open-ended questions that were up there, they're able to do that at any point while they're in the mentorship program. So the course was designed to provide, like I said, a base understanding of mentorship programs, the expectations of the program, and also how to use the dashboard, right? So making sure that folks know how to use the flags feature that Alyssa talked about earlier, how to use those resources, where to find them, how to log a conversation, why should I log a conversation? What's the point of doing that, and how can it make me a better mentor? As well as things like how do I get help? What happens if my mentee is not responding to me? What happens if I need help from a program administrator? How do I get in contact with Mentor Collective? My password's not working, or whatever. So it goes over all of that in a one-stop kind of place for folks to get the resources they need to function the best they can within the platform. But then it also goes over foundational understanding of the elements of successful mentorship. So communication skills, right? So ORs, open-ended questions, how to ask questions, how to introduce yourself, how to say, maybe I don't want to talk about that. I don't feel comfortable talking about that. It goes over the best practices that we want to see mentors experience in their communication with a mentee, and also to make sure that they feel safe and encouraged and supported in working with their mentee. It's required. Mentor training is required for matching purposes. And we really believe here at Mentor Collective that training it helps equip participants with those skills that they need to be a mentor. Everybody can be a mentor, but we have mentors starting from all different places. Some very experienced mentors, some just starting in their mentorship career. And both folks need to know how to use the platform, right? So both folks need to know how to log a conversation and how flags work and where to get help if they need it, and they're also able to access the skills-based knowledge that is part of the training, especially if they're newer in their mentorship journey. I also want to call out now that accessibility was really top of mind when the course was created. So features like text copying, closed captions, alt text, and then also downloadable PDFs compatible with screen readers. All of that has been incorporated into the course design. There are also embedded checks for understanding at the end of each chapter in the course, which is something that my former K through 12 heart really appreciates. So these embedded checks for understanding are not punitive, they're meant to be educational. So after every single chapter in the course, a participant will experience a check for understanding that shows them, did they understand the content that they just learned? And if they got an answer incorrect, it'll redirect them to that part of the course so they can retake that. There's also a final assessment, which we're going to talk about in just a bit. So I'm not going to tease that up too much, but there is both those informal checks for understanding and a formative assessment at the end of the course. Right. Here we go. So this is just a quick demo of what the course would look like. So for a student entering the course from their platform, they'll be greeted with first that message from Mentor Collective, how to use the course, what they can expect. Every course chapter starts with chapter objectives, so making sure that the student understands what they're going to be doing in that objective, in that chapter, what they'll be assessed on. We go through all of the matching requirements, what that is like, tips from their first meeting, checklists that they can use to support that first meeting, as well as logistics, safety flags, discussion guides, and then at the end of every chapter, you'll see one of those fun confetti cannons with a chapter review. So this is a graphic someone can download and have in their back pocket for mentorship, as well as a downloadable PDF for every chapter and the course itself, if they'd like to put that into a screen reader or take that along with them. The course also goes over the roles of a peer mentor, how that differs from other student supports. So, how that's different from maybe a counselor or an academic advisor, as well as how to build a strong foundation. So, how to introduce themselves, video examples, as you saw, and also PDFs that I believe this demo will click into in a sec that provide open ended questions and supports for students going into those conversations. This part here, I really love the setting boundaries part. So it covers how to appropriately handle if a participant is bringing up content that makes the mentor feel uncomfortable. So what are things that you should and shouldn't maybe talk about in a mentorship? What is appropriate if you to say if you to feel uncomfortable? I think that's a great, way to start a relationship is to make sure that the mentor and the mentee have those boundaries established and they're able to have a shared understanding of what to expect in their mentorship. You'll see here the final assessment, and we'll talk a little bit more about that on the next slide. And we'll also, you could see here some additional resources that pop up at the end of the course, including the works consulted, and again, the downloadable course is a PDF. So it allows students to have all these resources in their fingertips, on their phone, on their computer, on the go, to be able to access that as they go through their mentorship journey. All right. So that final assessment. So mentors must pass this final assessment with a 75% proficiency score. And the reason we made that a mandatory score, right, is so that we know with confidence that mentors who take this course and pass this exam are qualified mentors, right? We can tell the institution, and you can tell your other stakeholders that we have trained our mentors with confidence. We know that these mentors are set up for success. It is, not overwhelming. When I say exam, it's not a midterm or a final exam, right? It's 10 questions, but it makes sure that students have not just clicked through the course. They have to have read, or watched the video content in the course to be able to understand, the answers to the questions. They also are able to take it over and over again. So meaning if they're not able to get something, they get it wrong, they're getting blocked, they are able to take it over again. Overwhelmingly, the majority of our participants who take training do pass it. So it is never really a blocker for recruitment, or for your program participants. I would never be concerned in that way. On the opposite side, I would actually be really excited about the participants who are taking the exam because not only are you able to say, my mentors are trained with confidence, but they also get a certification. So they get a badge that pops up after they complete this that they can directly share on their LinkedIn or other social media that says I'm a trained mentor with Mentor Collective, and your program name. And they're able to add that to their resume as well. And this is something else that they can just add to their skill building, right? Their career readiness. And I think that's just so important for them to have that skill set in their back pocket. The learning objectives, which we'll talk a little bit about in just a sec, those also are connected to the NACE competencies. So students who are maybe looking to build their career readiness skill set in communication skills, listening, empathy, interview skills, introductions, that's something that this training touches on. So that certification does mean something, and it's important to our students who get that. I also want to flag right now that partners, you're able to also see the number of students who have completed training in your own dashboard. So if you go to the partner dashboard, you'll be able to see in the graphic there how many students have completed or need to continue completing their training. All right, so on the screen, you'll see some differences between our two most popular mentor trainings. We have mentor trainings for many of our different program segments, but these are the two most popular, our student success mentor training and our career readiness. Both of these describe Mentor Collective's program expectations, how to use the platform, how to differentiate a mentor from those other student supports. Like I mentioned before, what's a mentor over a counselor? What's a mentor over an academic advisor or a tutor? Or, what's my role as a mentor? It also goes into the boundary setting and the different stages of the mentoring life cycle. But the career readiness mentors really dive into why career readiness specifically, why that mentorship matters. What is the benefit to having a successful mentorship in the career field? How does that lead to success down the road for both mentors and mentees? As well as impactful ways to better support career readiness mentees who are maybe focused on different things than our student success mentees who are typically looking for that first year experience or more of a belonging on campus. So our student success program looks more at basics of introducing yourself, the importance of communication, how to build sense of belonging, practicing active listening skills, how to build trust and empathy with another person, and setting guidelines and expectations in that space. You can actually take a peek at all of the objectives for all of our trainings. And I do want to call out too, we have optional courses for our mentees as well. And the mentees have video content in there as well that showcases examples of what mentorship was like for them. So testimonials from them. You can check all of that out in our Partner Knowledge Center. Alyssa, can I ask you to drop the link to that in the chat? Thank you. All right. And then lastly, I'll talk about this and then I'll chat about certification before I pass it back to you, Alyssa. So I do want to call out on the screen, we get tons of feedback from participants. So every mentor training is attached to a survey, and that survey, it's optional, but it goes back to us and we're able to iterate and make the courses as impactful as we can. And I want to just flag that we have an average of 4.7 out of 5 satisfaction rate with over 2,000 respondents in just the last 2 years. So our participants are really enjoying this. You can see some of the feedback right up on the screen. One of our career readiness mentors talked about the training being essential. It gives them, what is expected for them in their role. Another talked about feeling more confident in their ability to be a mentor. And then our student success mentor talking about how easy it is to navigate, that they feel prepared to be a mentor. So I really think that's so important. We want our students going into their mentorship journey feeling prepared, confident, empowered. That goes back to that participant-centered approach. When the mentor feels like they are getting something out of this, they are more engaged and empowered, feeling like they have the resources that they need to support a mentee, and the two then have a more impactful relationship. All right, lastly, that certification. I know I've mentioned this before. This is what it looks like, although with the name of a student and not my cute puppy. So the certification, again, it's shareable to social media, and then it is something that can also be downloaded as a PDF and added to a resume if a student would like. So at the end of the course, students are directed to this as well as those additional resources, and they're able to go into their mentorship journey feeling pretty prepared. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Alyssa. I'm going to have Alyssa start talking a little bit more about these additional resources, which we call here discussion guides. So Alyssa, I'll pass it over to you.
Yes, thank you so much. So our resources and discussion guides section of this participant dashboard is absolutely key in helping support the mentors and mentees kind of being able to reference other resources or read up themselves before they're having their conversation. So with the standard kind of program design we have 40 plus discussion guides and mentor briefings that are included when your program is set up. And that is regardless of what design your program is using. However, they are tailored based on that program type. So you'll see here there's the option to filter them. There's the option to search for certain topics. So your mentors and mentees are well equipped to kind of navigate and read up on some things before they're engaging or while they're engaging with their mentorship. They're also tied back to the goals. The mentees are asked to set a goal in their matching survey, and based on what they select there, certain articles will be suggested to them in their dashboard, and the mentor can see the goal they've set, and these same articles are suggested to the mentor, so they can all be on the same page on some of those different goals and discussions that they maybe want to have as it relates to the mentorship. Um, as you can see here as well, when you click into those different articles, you can link to a lot of different resources and toolkits. So we can incorporate a lot of other resources that already exist. So helping students navigate to places outside of the platform when necessary. So there's a lot of different ways that you can navigate and feel supported in the mentorship. Just some examples of the differences that we'd have between, say, a student success program versus a career program versus adult online program types. Your student success programs, that's going to have a lot of focus on being on your own for the first time, the transition into college for the first time, academics, nutrition, making friends, things that a lot of those young students maybe are going to need support with. In contrast, our adult online programs still focused on succeeding in college, addressing academic concerns, but maybe we're not assuming that these are students who are 19 years old, have just graduated high school, and are entering the world for the first time on their own. These can be returning students or students who are pursuing a degree at an older age, and maybe they don't need tips about making friends or learning more about on-campus opportunities, and are more curious just about how they can succeed in college or in an online space. Similarly, our career-focused programs, that's going to focus a lot less on transitioning into college and a lot more on transitioning into the working world and out of college. So we'll talk about resources around networking, money management and finances, transitioning to life outside of school, interviews. So there's a really personalized touch based on your program design and the resources that are uploaded into the platform. We will include some links, or if Jess or Jen has those available, she can drop a link, or we'll include those in follow-up as well. Just that breaks down the full list of all the resources that are included by program type. But as a reminder, if you're curious about your program right now, you also have access to the resources section on your own dashboard. So similar where you'd find like exports or participants, one of the sections should say resources. So you can browse around as well if you're curious what's included on your program right now. And on that topic, we'd love to talk a little bit about the custom resources option. So this is a really nice feature where we can upload anything really that you think could be relevant for your students. And what's great is we can personalize if you have resources that are just for mentors or just for mentees. One example we have is a partner who uploads suggested offices or contact people based on topic of conversation or flags. So they have an entire list of, if it's related to academics, here are all the contacts you could need if your mentee brings it up. If they have financial aid questions, here are all the contacts we suggest if something comes up. And they upload that just for mentors into the dashboard as a custom resource about their university specifically. And then that way their mentors have access to that very quickly, instead of feeling like they have to kind of raise their hand or ask who they should be reaching out to if a certain topic comes up. So that's one example of a custom resource that can be woven into the dashboard. Another is resources in different languages. So that's similar to the what you'll see on the screen here, a screen grab we have of different languages that you can include for certain articles. If there's resources you really want to make sure students have access to, and you already know they exist in, say, English and Spanish, we can upload a PDF and include both in the system. Or if there's resources that you really want to make sure certain students have access to, we can certainly do that. We can also embed links similar to the screenshot from the previous slide. So if you have links that you want to direct your students to, we can embed those into your custom resource, or videos. If there's content that you want to share with them, informational or just kind of general, we can embed those into your custom resources as well. And so thinking about ways that you could maybe weave that in. Another example there is a partner we had who had an emergency situation going on campus due to some weather, and they linked both an announcement from kind of leadership as well as a link to the resources page. So they had a new page that went up on their website recently about resources for this emergency and had a link available to the students. So there's a lot of different ways you can tie that in to the program. And then another step that we also do with your custom resources, we will assign topics and goals to the resources that you upload. So when students are using that filtering feature, your custom resources are still showing up in the list of options. And if students are setting goals and one of your resources is related to one of those goals, then that will also auto-populate in both the mentee and mentor dashboard in that event. So there's a lot of really great use cases for the custom resources. And so I definitely recommend bringing that up with your partner success manager. Either right now is a great time because I know there's a lot of program planning going on, but that's something we can also do at any time throughout the year. So again, if you have a one-off situation where you want to upload something halfway through the year, great, let's do it. There's a lot of different ways you can use the custom resources. So definitely feel free to kind of experiment or brainstorm with your partner success manager and think about the different ways that you can get that in there. We have a lot of partners too who will do like a participant handbook or expectation handbook, and they upload that into the system for mentors or mentees. So a lot of different ways you can leverage that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alyssa. We're going to transition now and dive into assessment. So I'll keep you on the floor if you don't mind and talk a
Yeah,
little bit more about that as well.
absolutely. So we have a lot of different assessments that we use, and they are kind of, again, specific to program type. These were questions on these assessment surveys that have come from peer-reviewed published scales that are intentionally designed to assess participant perceptions at key times in the program cycle. So the surveys are going to include questions about the participants' experience in the mentorship, in addition to the relevant non-cognitive success factors shown to be closely connected to better retention rates, MELT rates, higher academic success, positive career outcomes. And so these areas of assessment are going to vary slightly by program design, but that is to best assess the outcomes intended for that design. So we'll have 3 surveys that run throughout a standard academic year program. I know we have a lot of programs that maybe run in shorter terms, like a semester or a quarter. With a standard year-long program, we're going to run a start of program survey, a mid-program survey, and an end of program survey. Some may only do a start and end using a shorter term, but kind of our standard best practice is to have those 3. Participants are going to receive both email and SMS text message reminders announcing when that survey has launched, just nudging them, encouraging them to take it. It should be pretty quick. Just share your feedback here. Now, in some configurations, it depends who's going to receive those surveys. So your mentees will always receive those in our programs, but there's somewhere the mentors may not receive the assessment surveys that we're sending out. And that just depends, again, on the program design. For example, in our career readiness programs, the mentors are not being surveyed because those are individuals who are existing outside of the institution, and we want to kind of manage the amount of communication going out to them. And so in others, we may only have an end of program survey go to mentors just to collect final feedback and takeaways from the program. But in our kind of standard student success program design, both mentees and mentors would receive these. Your start of program survey will go to all registered participants. So if they have signed up for the program, they'll receive that start of program survey. But the mid and end of program survey will only go to matched individuals. So just keep that in mind. You may sometimes see a larger number on that start of program survey. And again, that is more so just to measure the impact that these students are feeling from the mentorship. We want to gauge the impact that has been had on their various non-cognitive success factors throughout the journey of the mentorship. Oh, sorry. My screen, I think, just went away, but we'll go here.
You're fine. We can see you.
Anyway, so here are a couple of screen grabs of what this assessment looks like, as well as what those non-cognitives that we're looking at include. So, of course, we want to keep this survey pretty quick. The various non-cognitives included in the surveys, there's usually only about 2 to 5 questions related to each non-cognitive success factor. And these, again, will depend on program design. So, for example, a student success program is going to be measuring that sense of belonging, that academic self-efficacy, the academic help-seeking behaviors. Whereas the career readiness program is maybe looking at career decision self-efficacy, academic help-seeking, different success factors. So the different program designs will have different questions related, but the one thing they all will have in common is that strength of relationship question. Or rather questions, we ask a few about that, but those begin after the partners have been matched. So in the mid-program survey and the end of program survey, we will start asking various questions about if they're able to connect with their mentor as often as they like, if they feel comfortable going to their mentor, if they've been satisfied with the partnership thus far. So we're asking a few different questions, again, trying to keep it pretty quick. It shouldn't take more than 5 minutes or so to go through this questionnaire survey. And we're only launching that at strategic times throughout the year. Again, that start of program survey, we want to capture kind of early insights before they have really felt the impact of mentorship. So launching that usually within 2 weeks of matching beginning, if not earlier. The mid-program survey is kind of capturing them, for example, in a full academic year program, either right before or right after winter break. So, they have a semester under their belt, but they're not all the way through that first year yet. And then the end of program survey, again, usually launching around a month prior to the program closing out, just to see over time how these different questions are progressing. We ask the same questions in all 3 surveys. So aside from that strength of relationship question, which is just on mid and end program surveys, but that way we can compare both on the individual level if there's been progress and in aggregate if the trends are looking more positive over the course of the year. So all of that's available in your dashboard. You can always review the various individual and large group answers, and your partner success manager is more than happy to walk you through those if you ever have questions or want to review them in a more holistic way. And then the one reminder I'll also mention is, again, that this assessment lives in the checklist on their dashboard, similar to the checklist Jen showed for where the training lives, where the matching survey prompt is. They'll also, depending on which survey is launched, that's where the assessments are. So if your students are ever having trouble finding them, just direct them to the checklist. It's right there. So they can access those there. Great. And then the one other kind of mini assessment we like to say is our micro survey. And this is a really great opportunity. I know we've done some webinars on this recently and talked about these a bit. But because our assessments have been built and structured in a very specific way in order to track very specific data and what we've seen as impacting students most, right now there's not the ability to customize or add questions to those assessments. And that's where our micro survey feature comes in. We can do these at any point throughout the entire year. We can have them go for just mentees or just mentors, and you can customize it to ask anything you'd like. We did an entire webinar on microsurveys, so feel free to watch that or read up on the article, but there's a lot of different ways you can leverage this microsurvey. I've seen people use it just to like gauge feedback of an event, like, did you have fun at this? Yes or no? Or would you be interested in an event like this? Yes or no? Or, on a scale from 1 to 5, how busy are you feeling this semester? Anything like that. And as you can see here in the visuals, this pops up across their dashboard as a big banner, and it kind of blocks the view of some of the other things. So that way it really encourages, like, we got one question, we'll answer it, submit it, and it's gone. So this can be a really useful tool if you have just quick little questions that you want to gather or feedback you want to gather anytime throughout the program. So this is definitely a very underrated kind of feature of your participants dashboard that you can leverage at any time. And again, always collaborate with your partner success manager if you have any questions about how that can operate best.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alyssa. And for everyone here, I dropped in the chat there a full library of examples. So Alyssa has recently done a webinar that went over how to use microsurveys strategically and covered also tons of partner examples. It was great. Thank you, Alyssa. And I want to really call that out. It's such a helpful resource. So you can find that in the chat, and I'll include that in follow-up messaging as well. All right, so that takes us home. I want to wrap up by sharing again how all of what we've talked about today is grounded in a participant-centered approach, right? So everything, assessments, even these micro surveys, the curricular resources that are to support mentors and mentees, the training, all of that is really meant to support a participant-centered approach to mentorship, right? So really making sure that your every participant in your program, no matter who they are, feels like they are seen, that they are included, that they are supported, and that they are well resourced in being able to create the most impactful mentorship possible, right? So that they have the tools that they need to be a better mentor, but also when they need extra help, they know who and where and how to get the help that they need, whether it's from Mentor Collective or whether it's from you at your institution, as well as giving you insights into what's going on with your student population, right? Taking those assessments and being able to better understand and aggregate, like Alyssa had mentioned, the trends on your campus. What is happening? Are students feeling good? Are they needing extra support? How can you jump in and make sure that your program's efficacy is ensured? Is sense of belonging happening? Is our students feeling like they are doing the academic help seeking behavior that you're looking for? What is your program outcome, and is that being met with your participants? So all of these resources are really tailored with that in mind to make sure that students as a whole are well supported. So I hope that you were able to see that a little bit today. And of course, if you have additional questions, please reach out to us at any time. I'll drop the link to our email there in just a sec. Or actually, Alyssa, if you don't mind dropping our partner support at mentorcollective.org email in the chat, that would be great. And I also encourage you to talk to your partner success manager in your next check-in about some of these features. Let them know, hey, I saw the demo on training, I want to learn more. Or, hey, I heard Alyssa talk about micro surveys, how do I add that to my program? Talk to your partner success manager. They would love to have that conversation with you about making sure your students are the most supported that they can be. So as we wrap up here, some upcoming virtual events here at Mentor Collective. We have an event on institution provided data, or IPD, and how that can be used to strengthen your mentorship initiative. Our in-house data expert, Emily, who has led several Ask the Expert sessions and met a couple of you, I think, on the call here. She'll be leading a full webinar on this, how to gather data from both your mentorship program as well as from your institution, combine that in tandem, and allow that to craft a narrative that you need to see how to better, again, support your students, or to go to your stakeholders at your institution and say, hey, I could use more funding, or I would love to see this program spread across campus. So being able to leverage IPD in strategic ways is what we'll cover. Alyssa, if you don't mind dropping the link to sign up for that in the chat. Thank you. And then the other two events that we have will be going out in messaging shortly. We have another Ask the Expert session, which is a small group session with Emily to talk about your data questions, as well as a webinar that we just announced called Celebrate Mentorship, where we'll dive into one of the other elements of that Wheel of Six, Celebrate, and learn how celebrating your mentorship participants can really give your program an edge. We'll hear from partners, we'll get some examples for you, as well as super easy things that you can do next day, like deliverables that you can add to your program the next day. We know it's that time of year, so we want to make sure that you're empowered with the tools, the templates, everything you need to make celebrating mentorship happen. Then again, we'll of course have some messaging, follow-up messaging here that will go out with all of these awesome resources for you, so you can look at them at your leisure. And then as we close out here, I just have a quick poll for folks. I'd love to hear what you thought. It really informs what we do next. I'd love to hear your feedback. How did we do? How valuable was this for you? And any comments or suggestions that you may have. And then what would you like to see covered maybe maybe this summer as you're thinking about building out your program, preparing for next year? What are some of the things on your mind that you'd like to have more education on? So, if you don't mind filling that out, and when you're all done, thank you so much. Thanks again for being here, folks. I know it's Thursday. It's a bright, sunny day here in Rhode Island, so I hope it's nice and sunny by you and you get to enjoy some time outdoors. Thank you for spending a small chunk of your day here with us and learning alongside us. Thank you, and I'm looking forward to seeing you down the road.